We're talking prospects, pickups, starters, and more here on the Friday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Clay Link of RotoWire.com. Here with the FSWA Hall of Famer, Todd Zola. Todd, always great talking with you. We had a bit of good news the other day in Jackson Holliday's arrival, but
good news?
That's about the only shred of good news lately. It seems like
if you're a Red Sox fan, it's not good news.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but you know what?
Fan of any other team in the AL East?
You could. Let's see. There's Jason Collect from Tampa. Who do we know that likes Toronto? Anybody that you talk to of an AL East? Rob Silver. We're all going to be lamenting having to face this Orioles juggernaut for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and they got a lot more on the way, and Colton Cowser's looking strong. So, they're just pumping these guys out of a factory somewhere.
I think, let's go on a limb here and say drop Austin Hayes.
Yeah, that's it's gotten to that point for sure. With
Jokes, this Orioles team is fun to watch. It's hard not to root for them. Holliday did not look out of place. He didn't get a hit. He has an RBI and 2 runs scored. Played some good defense. Did not get a hit though, but certainly did not look out of place. I'm looking at the microphone like it's my camera. Certainly did not look out of place. As you mentioned, Cowser. Wow. Easily the strong side of a platoon now, I would think, right? Has to be.
Yeah, I think so. And Holliday down in the 9 hole, but of course always potential for upward movement there. And I say that's a bit of good news because over the last week since we last talked, we've been hit by pretty much nothing with bad news on the injury front. Yeah. Since we did our last podcast, Todd, just in the last week, we've lost Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, Framber Valdez, who am I forgetting here? Nick Pivetta, yeah. Luis Robert on the hitting side. I lost 3 big guys, Strider, Bieber, and Robert on my Tout Wars team. It's going to be hard to overcome that. We're gonna try. It's just been a tough week for injuries. Not good for the game of baseball, but it's not an easy solution either, and just got to power on, I guess.
I don't think there is a solution. That's the
problem,
not
one
right?
One specific issue. That's the thing.
People think they know, but they don't, and I know you didn't. You left out Yoan Moncada. Well, the fact that Yoan Moncada is important shows you how deep these injuries are going.
Trevor Story too.
It's getting kind of ugly.
Mm-hmm.
We do all this work. We sound like a couple of football guys. We do all this work all year, and then our injuries crush our teams. It's part of it is how you're in you said Tout Wars. It's a head-to-head league, so I'm assuming you're in the. I just got to scratch my way into the playoffs and hope that Strider comes back.
Hope to scratch my way to the playoffs.
Right, but you just try to get in, and then maybe a couple of these guys come back, and now you're strong for the playoff run. That's it's a little different mindset in head-to-head than it might be in a roto league where now it's, well, all right, if I lost 2 of my best pitchers, maybe I dump ERA, a little early for this, right? I dump ERA and just pick up wins. I don't know. But the other thing you got to remember, though, is we're naming so many injuries. Half the league is suffering of it, and those that aren't will be.
Yeah, good point. And one good thing about Tout Wars that's just going to save me a little bit is the FAAB redemption. So I'm going to get like $500 in FAAB back. So that's a little bit of a positive. And with that in mind, I shelled out for Ronel Blanco and Cody Bradford, who's looking solid, and Javier Assad last weekend.
So I don't think I just got done writing a piece for ESPN. I don't think that Ronel Blanco. I don't think the third time will remain a charm. I just don't see it.
I don't expect Ronel Blanco to fill, Spencer Strider's shoes, but I'm just going to have to find any sort of starting pitching that I can in that league, points league. But I mentioned Bradford. He went for 22 in the stake league last night. He was not the top pickup. Top pickup was James MacArthur at 37. But Bradford, which, I mentioned last week, I spent 43 on Jason Foley. So 37 for MacArthur seems about right. And with Bradford, we know he's going to stay in that Texas rotation now. Are you a believer in the lefty Cody Bradford?
I'm a more of a believer than I am for Blanco.
Okay.
And now, all right, to give Blanco some credit, he's mixed up his pitch repertoire, right? He's throwing, more? I'm getting him mixed up with Brady Singer.
I'll look at his StatCast page.
Yeah, I mean, I could look up what I just wrote too. But yeah, so Blanco, to his credit, is using his changeup more. That's what it is.
Okay.
He's using his changeup more, and his hard hit rate has dropped precipitously. It's a little
early.
Allowed
a single barrel.
Yeah, his hard hit rate and his barrel have both just plummeted, which is a good thing. Now, we don't know if it's a cause and effect yet. So, I mean, I have to hesitate saying it's all luck because there's something with Blanco has changed the type of pitcher that he is. So you got to hold out. When the fall may be softer than maybe I would have thought coming into the season.
Definitely.
But I still don't trust it.
Well, you were spot on with that changeup because last year he only threw it 9% of the time. This year, all the way up to 32.8% usage. So that's become a huge part of his arsenal there, and that's become his primary put away pitch and primary swing and miss pitch. And don't forget, not only did he throw the no hitter, he took he extended that into the fifth inning in his next start.
Yeah,
it's been a pretty remarkable start to the season for Ronel Blanco.
Right. So again, the 5.7% barrel rate and compared to 18.9 last year, 20% hard hit rate compared to 35. So those aren't lucky. I mean, there are reasons why he hasn't given him many hits. And a .029 BABIP. Can you really talk BABIP in 15 innings? I mean, it just means that he's gonna give up more hits. But it's just where that landing point is. How much of a cause and effect is there with the changeup? Now, there's no, on paper, research shows there's no advantage or benefit or disadvantage to facing the same team twice in a week, which is going to do tomorrow against the Rangers again. But he is at home, whereas the last time was on the road, so that should help him. But I'm not. His rostership on ESPN went from 30 to 75%. So I just, and if you pick him up, you're going to use him. It's just the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
I can't use him tomorrow. I'm willing to be wrong.
I hear you, and I think Cody Bradford's also a tough guy to pin down.
I like the Bradford. I see more there.
It just hasn't been missing many bats so far, and it's been pretty fortunate on the long ball in terms of limiting the long ball. Just giving up 1 and 19 in a third inning. So stat like xFIP is going to regress that number and puts him at closer to like a 4 ERA right now. But and I'm also curious what this does with Michael Lorenzen because I actually have him in the league. So
for a while,
I'm going to see what the Rangers do here.
Yeah, for a while I thought they would make the perfect piggyback, but I don't know that we'll see that. I think they might just go like the Dodgers and try to keep these guys, Eovaldi, try to keep these guys healthy and just go with a 6-man. Yeah.
Reds are doing that too with Nick Senzel back this weekend, at least for the time being.
There you go, Nick Senzel. I
did it again.
There you go, Nick Lodolo.
Oh man, I'm like cursing these guys by calling Lodolo Senzel, but no, Nick Lodolo.
I hope not.
Me too.
But the Reds too. I mean, at some point we're going to want Hunter Green out there every 5. I didn't say Hunter Brown. I said Hunter Green. We're going to want him out there every 5 days.
Yeah, you're not going to want Hunter Brown out there
yet. Man, Hunter Brown yesterday. I didn't see it, but I heard it and read about it. And I mean, it wasn't even so much tipping pitches. He was just throwing junk over the heart of the plate.
Yeah. Ugh. That was one of the worst starting pitching lines I can remember. It was worse than the Gomber, I think, from a few years ago.
It was even worse than earlier this season with Bailey Ober.
That's true. It's got ugly. Gavin Sheets was picked up at 21. I don't know what caused that number to go so high, but
because there's no one left in the.
People are scrambling.
Yeah, now someone in the Whites. Oscar Colas was just sent down.
Yeah, he's brought up for a single day and then sent back.
Yeah, he pinch hit. We had a little bit of a Twitter discussion as to, what are the White Sox doing? Why didn't they bring him up? They didn't burn an option, unless people think that. Well, why'd they burn an option? Remember that you can bring a guy up and down 5 times, and it's still just one option in a particular year.
Yeah,
so
they didn't cap the number of up and downs in a single year.
Yeah,
the Edward Olivares rule.
Right, exactly. But the point being, unless there's an injury, which on the White Sox there's a good chance, unless there's an injury, he's going to stay down. Colas does. We're clearly going to see him again this season. I don't know what it is the White Sox wanted to see on the farm. But we'll clearly see. Gavin Sheets is not going to keep Oscar Colas down. I mean, on the other hand, Colas hasn't exactly, crushed his way back to the majors. He's hitting well.
At AAA, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, last year was rough for him, and we'll see what happens. But you're right, that opportunity will be there at some point later this season on what's looking like a disastrous White Sox team. Jurickson Profar picked up as people look for replacements here. Yariel Rodriguez of the Blue Jays picked up, and it looks like he's going to, well, from what I've seen on Twitter, he's going to debut on Saturday. But I was looking before the show and on the Blue Jays official probable pitchers page, and they still had Bowden Francis there for Saturday. So maybe they piggyback Francis and Rodriguez, but Rodriguez has some hype and, making the jump stateside this year. So, I mean, I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach, but some people do not have that ability and that luxury in light of these injuries.
The key with Rodriguez is he didn't pitch last year.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
On April 13th or 14th, fine. He's fine. If you're expecting him to be fine on August 14th, maybe not. But right now, what have you done for me lately? I need somebody tomorrow. Yeah, go for Rodriguez.
Yeah, again, he's expected to be promoted. From what I've seen, he's going to pitch Saturday in some capacity, but from what I've seen, they still have Francis listed as the starter officially, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Also picked up Spencer Arrighetti. Now he struggled. Was that yesterday or Wednesday? Spaghetti, as some are calling him. I didn't see it. I put in the initial projection. Gave up 7 earned runs against the Royals. Royals are crushing it all of a sudden. I was looking at Arrighetti's minor league numbers, and I just, aside from his decent start in terms of run prevention at AAA, I just didn't see it.
I think some people project to be a back-end starter, and with Houston, that could be turned into something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's I mean, to say he's Houston top prospect starter is kind of damning with faint praise.
Sure.
But I think still the outing was a bit of a surprise. Has some of the jitters. He's going to get at least one more start before Verlander and/or Valdez are ready. So we'll see what happens there. I think he's better than he looked, but I'm not running out to get him now. I mean, JP France, we said the same thing about, and he kind of held his own. And
Ronel Blanco, I said the same thing about 2 weeks ago.
So you've got that, but I don't know. I mean, at some point, Lady Luck and the regression monster have to come to an understanding.
That's a brilliant way to put it. I'm going to steal that someday. That's amazing. Lady Luck and the regression monster. That's a match made in heaven or hell. But Josh H. Smith picked up at 9. Christian Scott was a James Anderson pickup at 7. I had a $0 bid in on him. I'm a little surprised to see James go so aggressive on Christian Scott, but the Julio Teheran experiment was short-lived, and maybe the Mets, in light of their injuries and it doesn't look like Cody Senga's going to be back anytime soon. Maybe they bring up Christian Scott soon.
That's what the internet wants.
Yeah.
And I heard James on Sirius talking that he would rather have Christian Scott than Ben Brown as an example.
Mm-hmm. I picked up Ben Brown at 6, so
I defer to James on these things, and I increased my behind the scenes projection for Christian Scott, but I can't tell you that I know anything about him other than what's written on the RotoWire page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just know that he impressed in spring training, and our Mets beat writer Eric Segrist says the Mets really like what Christian Scott has to offer.
Yeah,
I thought maybe bringing in Julio Teheran and maybe push him back toward the summer, but Teheran DFA'd and released after just one start, so maybe that moves Christian Scott's timetable back up. We'll see. I mean, upside there, and the James Anderson endorsement does mean a lot. I liked what I saw from Ben Brown though on was that Tuesday against the Padres. Looked pretty good. Now, of course, Craig Counsell pulled him one out short of his first career win and his first career start, but I see something here. And as Uncle Ted said in the chat, he got an endorsement from Pedro Martinez on MLB Network, which is always nice. Don't know that really means a ton, but always good to hear.
Pedro's nice to a lot of people.
That's true. And they are getting Jameson Taillon back, so there is some uncertainty there as to how long Ben Brown will be in that rotation.
I like Brown has showed me something in that he didn't start out so well, even in his last start, but he's showing resiliency. He's showing he can absorb a couple of errors or a couple of bad things and bounce back. And sometimes the younger players, they try to overthrow and strike everybody out. He seems to know his boundaries, and I think we'll continue to see a better pitcher every time out.
I'm with you there. David Hamilton. Also, I lost Framber, so I had to pick up somebody. Hopefully, Brown sticks around at least for the short term. David Hamilton at 5. What do you think your Red Sox do here with Story down? Are they going to ride David Hamilton? Are they going to move Vaughn Grissom over to short?
I don't. Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, we were hoping that Grissom would just learn to play second. I think the Red Sox have got better fill-ins at second base than they do short. So I think we may see Grissom at shortstop. Much to the lament of pitchers.
It would make a lot of sense. Sorry.
Much to the lament of the pitchers. One thing they've said, Marcelo Mayer is not the guy, at least not yet. Don't, slow your roll. It's not going to be Mayer. We still have a couple weeks. So bidding on Hamilton, you get it, 5 is not enough that it's going to cripple you. You get a couple weeks look at Hamilton. He can run, and he's got a little pop. Now, he made I don't want to use the word bonehead. That's kind of rough. But on a middleman of a double play, he missed tagging second. A couple plays after, he made a wonderful play. So it was just one of those things. And, of course, the next batter, Anthony Santander, puts one just inside the pesky pole, and the comeback for the Orioles was on. But anyway, but I think Hamilton will get at least a platoon run for the foreseeable future, and that being maybe 2 weeks until Grissom's back. I think it'll be telling, and I think we can learn this pretty easily, is where does Grissom play in rehab? If he plays predominantly shortstop, doesn't that tell you that's where he's going to play when he comes here? And it makes sense to play him where he's going to play.
Yeah, I think he starts the rehab assignment tonight, right? So we'll have to see. They could move Cedane Rafaela to short, maybe.
Maybe, but I think Rafaela is just so valuable in second and the outfield. I think he'll continue to jump between those two spots, and I don't know, because Grissom's just not that good defensively, and it's just such a hit because Story was such a glue to that infield, and the Red Sox pitching is on the upswing. So I don't know. Maybe if Hamilton can do the job defensively, that's where he lands.
Yeah, that Story injury is tough, and it has a big ripple effect. So we'll have to see what they do there. The Boston Red Sox, and then Bryce Elder picked up for 2. They brought up Darius Vines, and he could start if he's not used out of the bullpen this weekend. But maybe if Vines is used, they bring up Elder, an all-star last year, so it feels like people just kind of waiting for Elder to get his chance. It should come sooner rather than later, I would imagine.
I'm waiting for Smith-Shawver to get a chance. Now, Vines, I mean, if he could work over the weekend and still pitch on Tuesday, because I think it's been since the 4th, April 4th, that Vines last pitched. So this could be like a bullpen if he an inning or two on Saturday or Sunday, and he could still go on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see that. We'll monitor the Atlanta rotation, and then a guy not picked up because I already have him stashed, but I just want to mention James Wood. If you're in a league that allows picking up prospects ahead of time, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't place money on it, but if I had to say, I would imagine he's up by the next time we speak next week, because James Wood is absolutely crushing the ball at AAA. 2 homers yesterday, also a double and a stolen base. So he now has a 558 on base, 1352 OPS. Some swing and miss issues in the past, but he seems to have really taken a step developmentally with his plate discipline, James Wood. So I'm pretty darn excited about him arriving to Washington. Just thought I'd mention that. All right. Well,
I need to unmute myself because there was a camera there, a siren going by. Are you really willing to sit Jesse Winker or Eddie Rosario or Joey Gallo?
Yeah,
James Wood
or Joey Meneses, who's been just brutal.
Yeah,
I think
point is
Wood's like should be their number 3 hitter today. But
yeah, there are openings. There are pathways in our nation's capital.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, we'll get to the 2-star pitchers for next week here momentarily, but let me bring you a couple words from our sponsors real quick. Finally, baseball is back. The MLB season, knock it out of the park with vivid seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, and every eye-popping play of your favorite team live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you can earn rewards with every single purchase. Just buy 10 tickets, then cash in your credit towards your free 11th ticket. Talk about an easy win, and here's a pro reward tip. When buying tickets for your whole group, split the bill and make progress toward your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2024 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. We're also happy to welcome On Demand DFS as a sponsor. Do you ever think back to the golden days of fantasy football? When it was all about the love of the game, the camaraderie, and yes, the bragging rights. Well, our friends at On Demand DFS are bringing those days back with their revolutionary app that's changing the game for fantasy fans everywhere. Gone are the days of confusing entry fees, playing against unknown masses, or juggling multiple apps to trash talk with your league mates. On Demand DFS is here to streamline your fantasy football experience, making it more about strategy, fun, and most importantly, the community. With On Demand DFS, you can create a contest in seconds, invite your friends, and you're off to the races. No entry fees, no gimmicks, just pure fantasy football bliss. And here's the kicker. You're not limited to current season players. Imagine crafting your dream lineup from over 5,000 NFL legends and today's stars using real historical data to simulate the action. And for those who hate the wait, you'll love Turbo Mode. Contests wrap up in minutes, not hours, keeping the excitement going all week long. Download the On Demand DFS app now and get started with a 30-day free trial. Dive into a fantasy football experience that's rich in history, strategy, and most importantly, fun. It's time to create your legacy with the ultimate lineup of legends and live out your fantasy football dreams like never before. I always love a turbo mode. I love turbo mode in Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
All right. What was it? The Sarah movie, the kid. What's the movie that I'm thinking of? Turbo Mode with Cera, Cera. I forget his first name.
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera.
Turbo mode. Michael Cera.
We kept fighting the girlfriends or the boyfriends.
Oh, Scott
Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim. Yeah.
I like that movie more than I should.
Yeah, I've never seen the whole thing. Maybe I should prioritize that one.
For a guy that's not into video games, I like that movie more than I should. But anyway,
I started watching the Made in America OJ doc last night. One of the best sports docs ever made. All right, let's get into the 2-star pitchers for next week. You can customize the probable pitchers grid at RotoWire starting on April 15th, of course. Merrill Kelly, Todd. He's got the Cubs at home, then at San Francisco. It's been a good start for Kelly, and in fact, I think he's got 3 straight quality starts to begin his season. So not a 5 for me, but geez, it's going to be hard for me not to say 4 on Merrill Kelly.
Can I be a little silly and say 4 Roto, but 5 in points?
Sure.
Because he gets the innings. Like you kind of quality starts doesn't mean much to me other than he went 6 innings, which is rare nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I specified the 5 in points, and that makes sense because, quality start after quality start. If you get rewarded for quality starts, I mean, it's really nice. You don't have to be so reliant on the win from Merrill Kelly. What about Ronaldo Lopez? What a start for him. He's got to go at Houston and then versus Texas, so it's going to be kind of a challenging 2-step here for Ronaldo. Should show us a lot about what he is at this point of his career as he transitions back to the starting rotation. I'm going to turn this one over to you to start. Ronaldo Lopez at Houston versus Texas.
Right. Those matchups are a little tough. I mean, Texas isn't hitting now, but they're going to. I'm going to go 3. That's kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 3. I'm probably using him. And I think I upped my projections from kind of a swing man to more of a starter, and that might have to do with the health of the rotation. But I kind of think that Lopez is going to stick as a starter for a while now.
Yeah, we'll see. So if he passes this test this week, that'll be a big step forward for him and go a long way towards securing that rotation spot in the long term. My initial inclination was a 2, but I'm going to agree with you on a 3 on Lopez. Now, Cole Irvin, we love this team, but he's got an 8.10 ERA so far versus Minnesota at KC. With those matchups, would you consider Cole Irvin?
I mean, just because he could get some, he could win. He could be 2-0 with a 6 ERA this week. That's just what that team does. I'm still going to go 0 though. I'm going to go 0.
I'm going to go 1, but because I already put it down.
You can hear my brain thinking go 1, but I just couldn't do it.
No, I think you're probably better off just not rolling the dice on Cole Irvin, but maybe in a points league or something like that. What about Cutter Crawford? Man, this Red Sox rotation, even though they lost Pivetta, got to be happy with what they've done so far. I mean, Whitlock and Houck have looked great, and Crawford and Whitlock are both versus Cleveland and at Pitt. So, man, I mean, geez, I'm tempted to go 5 on both these guys, but I think more level-headed is a 4 on both.
I'm actually going to go 4 with Whitlock and 3 for Crawford. I still need to be more convinced with Crawford. And maybe that's just the Red Sox fan, just, not so much pessimistic. It's just I've seen enough of Crawford that I'm kind of confident that Whitlock will remain to be productive. I'm not sure about Crawford yet.
I hear you. Crawford's had great success so far in terms of results and run prevention, but a little word of caution there from Todd. Now, the Cubs will have to wait and see, but they are expected to get Jameson Taillon back. So currently, we have Ben Brown for Monday, but Kyle Hendricks getting 2. Hendricks mean, that's another reason I think maybe Brown sticks around is because Hendricks has been so rough. At Arizona versus Miami, pretty nice two-step there, but Hendricks at this point is a firm 0. I can't consider him in any format.
I've kind of been on the anti-Hendricks bandwagon for a little while now. To me, he's been on down. This is a groundbreaking, but he's been on the downswing for a little while now. I think people have finally given up on trying to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm no longer alone, but I'm with you. The strikeouts aren't there to fall back on.
Yeah, it could be the end of the road here for Hendricks. We'll see. Now the Reds, they're going the 6-man at least temporarily, giving Andrew Abbott and Nick Martinez some more leash to prove themselves. Maybe this is part of the solution to decreasing injuries as more teams go to the 6-man rotation to preserve arms. I mean, that could be a step toward keeping these guys healthy.
Well,
we'll see.
The ultimate step is just several 2 or 3 inning stints. I don't think any of us want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be it. But yet you get the horse and you want to pound the horse out there. I know Strider and Cole are down now, but in the years that they aren't down, you don't want to have them go every 6th day, do you? I don't know. Although 6-man rotation means now that there's 6 days between starts because a lot of pitchers are already getting 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't even know if the science shows that a 6-man rotation would, help keep guys healthier, but we've seen a couple teams go to it already this year. All right, Todd. Tanner Bibee next up here on the 2-start pitchers list for next week. He's at Boston versus Oakland, and he's been pretty disappointing so far, Bibee.
Yeah.
5.93 ERA. How are you feeling about Tanner Bibee this week with this 2-step at Boston that versus Oakland?
Don't love the Boston one, but I'm still confident that Bibee's a good pitcher.
Me
so
too.
I'm gonna go 4. And as a analyst, hope it's still a little chilly in Boston.
Yeah.
And maybe hope that Devers needs to be up because of his shoulder. But as a Red Sox fan, I'm gonna punch that analyst in the face.
Yeah, they just got to, get around Tyler O'Neill, who's somehow, turned into Superman this year. I mean, we always knew he had it in him. It's just about staying healthy for Tyler O'Neill.
Right.
Cal Quantrill at Philly versus Seattle. No reason to spend more time on this than necessary. That's a 0.
Correct.
What about Eric Fetty? I mean, versus KC at Philly. I really want nothing to do with this Sox team. I'm going to go 0 on Eric Fetty.
Oh, it's ugly. It's ugly. What were the matchups again?
Versus KC at Philly.
I'm going to go 1. I'm beginning to warm a little bit to Fetty.
Okay. Interesting. I forget who it was last week that you gave a 1 that I gave a 0, and they turned out to be a Turnbull. So I would say defer to Todd's numbers if you want. Reese Olson versus Texas. Took the loss last time out, but he's versus Texas at Minnesota. Same for Casey Mize. I think you and I were both kind of on that skeptical side with Reese Olson, and we've kind of been proven right so far. I think I'm going to go 0 on Mize, but maybe 1 on Olson. Is that too low?
No, I think that's about right. I'm still. I talked to Paul Sporer on the network, Fantasy Network, earlier this week. But you know how Paul, he could likes to talk. I never got to ask him. I wonder his opinion on Reese Olson. I suppose I could email him. I don't have to wait till I talk to him on the network. But I was curious what Paul's take was on Reese Olson because I get a great pitching mind and someone who follows Detroit ball answering the question. Too many people are into Olson for me to just dismiss him. But like you kind of said, he hasn't changed my mind yet on his own.
Yeah. Jay Grizz asked who we like more rest of season between Olson or Mize, and I don't have a strong lean, but probably Olsen by shred.
I
Just because
think
I don't know how many innings Mize is going to be able to throw.
I think Mize is safer, but if you're looking for the home run, if you're looking like to fill a back end spot and and get the profit, I think it's Olsen. If you're just trying to tread water, I think maybe Mize. But like you said though, I'm this is Mize without an innings limit. You got to have an innings limit.
Yeah, you got to factor in that he's probably going to have the kid gloves this year. Spaghetti Spencer Arrighetti versus Atlanta at Washington. Maybe in the second half of that two-step, he gets on track, but I can't see him doing it against Atlanta, so it's going to be a 0 for me on Spencer Arrighetti.
Well, your guy Wood's going to hit 2 homers off of him. I'm going.
Yeah, he'll be up by then. I mean, he'll be up by the 21st.
Yeah, there's the call.
We'll see.
I too am going. I'm getting hungry listening to talking about Spencer Arrighetti, but I'm going 0.
Seth Lugo's had quite a bit of success
so
far. He's at the White Sox, then versus Baltimore, and I mentioned earlier this Royals team's kind of got something here. I mean, they got maybe one of the best players. Well, I would say one of the best players in baseball, and Bobby Witt, Cole Reagans, and now Lugo's pitching well as well. So I'm not going to give him a 5, but at the White Sox versus Baltimore, you got a 4 on Lugo like I am.
I don't love the Orioles, but I'm going to go for it. You see, the joke, Clay, would have been they got one of the best players in baseball in Vinny Pasquantino, and they also have Bobby Witt.
Well, they have one of the best players in baseball in Michael Garcia and Bobby.
Yeah, no, Pasquantino kind of got off the schneid.
Yeah, he finally
the big
did.
win yesterday.
And Michael Garcia has been fantastic.
Oh, hasn't it's been extra base hits along with continuing to run. But what did the Royals got like 2 guys or 3 guys had multiple hits in the first inning yesterday? Wow.
Yeah, it was a bad day for Hunter Brown, but you got to give some of the credit to that KC offense, which is kind of clicking sooner than a lot of people expected.
Yeah.
Pablo Sandoval, Jose Soriano for the Angels. It looks like Mike Trout's enjoying a resurgence, but this pitching staff, I mean, aside from Tyler Anderson and Reed Detmers, I guess, but the back of this staff and the top of it and Sandoval has been pretty rough. So I don't think I can give either of these guys a point.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I look at that Angel staff, and I've been looking at the Angels. It's like you can squint and see Griffin Canning being okay, and you can see Sandoval. Opening day starter Sandoval being okay, but they haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't come through yet. Sandoval did not have a good spring, but he still was the opening day starter. He hasn't shown me. I think you're right. He hasn't shown me. I think there's something there. He just hasn't shown it yet. So I'm going to go 0.
Now, Walker Buehler had a rehab start last week Saturday. He's going to make another one. Probably this weekend, and then maybe he's back next week for the Dodgers. We'll have to see. But currently, we do not have any 2-star pitchers for them. AJ Puck, while Ronaldo Lopez has made the transition to the rotation, Puck has really stumbled and scuffled. Wow. I say that just to make you mad. I'd never say that in real life. And as you say, scuffled means to fight. And Puck has struggled and has a 5.91 ERA versus San Francisco at Chicago Cubs. I think he's probably a 0 and probably a drop until further notice.
I mean, it's cliche, and whether I invented this cliche or not, it's not known. But if you don't use Puck against the Cubs and Giants, why is he on your roster? I mean, those are okay offenses, but they're not the meat of the league. So,
I would just say he's a drop, and
instead of using you kind of said that. So, I mean, maybe that's the point. Is I don't think he's earned the right to be on your bench until he gets good. Others have, I don't think he's earned that right yet.
All right. Well, Edward Cabrera's Yeah, he made a rehab start on Wednesday at AAA, went 5 2/3 innings, struck out 9 with only one walk. So it looks like he'll be back. I mean, we've been down this road before, but are you going to trust Edward Cabrera in his return? 2 steps. I mean, he'll be the guy on my FAAB list this weekend for sure. And maybe I'll start him. I'll give him a 1.
I mean, I know you said he went 5 2/3, but it's kind of different. I think he'll be on. Yeah. I don't think he'll be on like a 50 pitch limit, but he'll probably be like on a 75, 70, 75. But that still could be enough. I too am gonna go 1. Get Garrett back, get Cabrera back, and that Miami team looks a little bit different. But have they dug themselves too much of a hole? That's the problem.
I think so, especially when they're basically already saying Skip Schumacher's gone after this season, and he's a good manager. He's going to be a hot commodity on the open market. I feel like Skip Schumacher, former Reds great. But yeah, Edward Cabrera is a guy that I'm going to look to pick up because while he's had command issues, he's also shown some swing and miss ability. So a shred of upside there with Edward Cabrera. Yeah, are you going to say something else?
There's a nice litany of managers that are better the next time around.
Yeah, and I think Schumacher is going to thrive wherever he ends up. Joe Ross had a pretty good outing against my Reds, which irked me, but man, I've been down this road with Joe Ross versus San Diego at St. Louis. I can't do it. I'm going to go 0.
I'm gonna go 1. If I'm in a team that that's really desperate and I need lightning in a bottle, I think he can provide it.
What about Louis Varland? He's got to go at Baltimore, which you don't love, but then he's home against the Detroit Tigers. So Louis Varland, he's got a 9 ERA so far, but at Baltimore versus Detroit. I know you like him, and a lot of people like him for good reason. I think I'm going to go 2 here. Scary for me, this 2-step.
I mean, I was hoping for a better start, obviously. 3 homers in 13 hits in 9 innings. All right. Fangraphs is going to say he was lucky, but he's also throwing some meatballs up there, I'm sure. But I do think things will get better for Varland. I don't, at Baltimore is scary, but I think I'm still going to go with your 2. Yeah.
And Adrian Hauser, he's got the Pirates at home, but the Pirates aren't really a pushover. And then at the Dodgers to end the week really takes Hauser out of the mix, so 0 there.
Yeah, I mean, I do like potentially streaming Hauser at home, but he doesn't get strikeouts. I mean, I know you're not a Brewers fan, but you saw him enough in the area that you kind of, I mean, when he's on, he gets guys out, but he doesn't strike them out.
Yeah, he's a capable back end starter in real life, not really a fantasy guy that I feel good about. Could light your ratios on fire, but maybe we'll get Christian Scott in that rotation by the end of next week. We'll see. No 2-star pitchers for the Yankees currently. And then for the Oakland A's, the future Sacramento A's, we got Ross Stripling. Guy like J.P. Sears and Blackburn, they've had some good outings so far this year, but Stripling's 0-3. Yeah, that's true. Stripling's 0-3 though, and 5.50 ERA versus St. Louis at Cleveland. Not the worst 2-step, but it is Ross Stripling, so I'm going to go 0.
Cleveland's like 5th in runs scored so far.
Yeah, that's true.
I
don't know how that happens.
Well, I mean, I actually had, I don't want to use the word high hopes for Stripling, medium hopes. Put him in that ballpark. Yeah, I'm gonna go 1. Just maybe it's to justify having him in the 48th round of a GC or something, but I'm gonna go 1.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's crazy or anything, especially given what we've seen on occasion for guys like Blackburn and Sears at home. So St. Louis at home. St. Louis, I mean, I know they got Nootbaar back, but they're kind of looking old and rough right now.
Goldschmidt and Arenado are in a slump. Jose Herrera has saved their bacon, and he's actually earned some more playing time. And
Victor
with Edman out,
Scott's been rough.
yeah, with Edman out and a couple of other injuries, you can get Contreras some DH time and not really be all right. So you're benching Alec Burleson. Oh no! So you're not. I mean, it looked like Gorman has to be their DH. Well, he's not going to have to be their DH anymore. They can use Contreras there and keep Herrera in the lineup. And Herrera's earned a spot in that lineup.
I took the bait on Victor Scott, and as much as you play the game and you think you know better, and you tell yourself not to go after these guys, and it rarely works out where one guy, saves you in a category. I still went down that hole, and it's been rough so far.
Let's take the other side of that coin. I'm Mr. Safety, and my safe guys aren't doing it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like the safe guys out there are. Well, I told you so. I mean, it's baseball. That's I mean, I don't know that there's the right way to do it.
That's true. It's a very tough game. So I just those kind of guys who who run but haven't really proven much else. I should know better at this point in my fantasy.
Part of it, I think, is we didn't care about low exit velocities before, but now we go to that page, we go to StatCast, we want to see red. Well, we forget that bunts get included, and you can beat out dribblers, and not everybody has to have a bloody StatCast page to be good. And sometimes I think we're blinded by that, and guys like Scott aren't going to light up StatCast, but they're still going to be effective.
Well, I thought Scott would hit enough, but I would not be surprised if he's sent back down here shortly. Yeah, I don't think he was the corresponding move. He was not the corresponding move for Nootbaar, but could still happen here shortly. Yeah. Now, Aaron Nola, he's 2-1, 4.50 ERA, but some whispers, some concerns about his velocity. What's your level of concern right now with Nola?
I'm a Nola stan. I always have been. I always will be. It's almost like the old joke. I mean, he's got him right where you want him. I mean,
he'll probably be great, but the velocity being down kind of scares me
a little bit. But he's not a huge velo guy. It's comedic. It's like when the Orioles were down 4-2. It's like, they got you right where they want you. I kind of feel that way a little bit with Nola. All right, home against Colorado, you like home. I mean, you got to like these matchups. I mean, these are the weeks that you need to see dominant Nola to get to where you want him to be at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, versus White Sox versus Rockies versus White Sox.
These you need the 12 innings of 2 runs for Nola to be at that 3.6 where you want him at the end of the year.
Yeah, it seems like the velocity since the postseason last year has just been trending down, hasn't ticked up yet. But I'm actually going to give him a 5 with these matchups.
I'm giving him a 5.
Just hoping that he's able to, look like the Nola we've seen in the past.
He won't have 2 starts next week unless the Chicago one gets pushed off. Not that it'll be any inclement weather on the East Coast, but I mean, we won't get to talk about him next week. But if he has a rough 2 start this week, maybe we will talk about him.
Now, Martin Perez has a 1.89 ERA, but aside from that one magical year he had a few years ago, we've seen enough. Yeah, he's been okay. He's been capable.
He throws the ball up there, and if the team hits it at a fielder, he looks good. If he doesn't, not so much.
Yeah, he's at the Mets and then versus Boston. Despite his success so far, I think I still got to stick with a 0. I could see Boston working him over pretty good.
It's in Pittsburgh. Boston hasn't worked too many teams over yet. I'm going to go 1. I mean, I like the Parks. I think you can use them.
Okay, I got you down as a 1. Joe Musgrove struggled so far this year. Really, it's been ugly. So it's at Milwaukee, then versus Toronto for Joe Musgrove. We talk about Nola. Our level of concern isn't very high, but with Musgrove, I don't know what it is, but I'm more uncomfortable with him, much more uncomfortable with him than I am with a guy like Nola. And I'd say my concern level's ticking up with Musgrove. At Milwaukee versus Toronto, I think I may give him a 3, but it's mostly based on his name and what he's done throughout his career.
Yeah. I mean, one would think that you could apply this to anybody who did the warm up really fast for the Korea series and come back. I mean, I wonder if that's affected Musgrove having to get ready to start one of those 2 games, coming back.
South Korea, yeah,
such a routine or whatever. So I'm going to give I'm going to go with a 3 with you. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. At some point, that's no longer a thing, right? You get into the routine. It should be pretty close to that at this point.
And another guy I'm kind of giving the benefit of the doubt to is George Kirby. He's home against the Reds, then at Colorado. When you're struggling, that's not what you want to see. But I do think there are better days ahead for him. I don't know what's going on there with Luis Castillo's struggling. Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller doing all right, but the very top of that rotation has had some issues. I think I may go a tick higher on Kirby than Musgrove at 4, and that's, eventually you're going to lose the benefit of the doubt, but for Kirby, I'm still giving it to him.
Kirby's tough because there's people that say he throws too many strikes. They didn't say that last year, did they? I mean, I forget that.
That was the selling point, that he didn't walk
the goofy number. I mean, he had like 12 foul balls. He had some silly number of foul balls that if a couple of those were strikeouts or another outcome, it wouldn't have been so bad last time. If your problem is throwing too many strikes, I think you have a better chance of fixing it than if you're throwing too many balls. I like the chances of figuring out sequencing or different parts of the zone than I do, of a Joe Boyle or something like that. So I'm with you on Kirby. No, we've talked leading up to the season. I thought he was being overdrafted because he doesn't get the strikeouts. But he's the kind of guy I like, but usually a little bit lower. He was the rare pitcher NFBC loved without that huge K percent.
Yeah, I kind of was confused by that, and it hasn't looked good so far, but at least he's healthy. Yeah, that's at least something, and that can't be said for a lot of guys who went in that range. We had a question in the chat from Grizz about dropping Josh Hader. I would strongly advise against that. Now, it is a 12-team head-to-head, he says, so it's not. I don't think dropping a closer is going to kill you in a head-to-head league, but I would not. I think now is not a good time to drop Hader.
I guess. Why?
Yeah, well, maybe you get a decent, but
saves come in waves. It's not. I don't think he's pitched poorly. The staff is not generating a lot of saves, but we got Verlander coming back. We got Bamber coming back. I mean, if nothing else, trade him. I don't know that I drop him.
No. 12-team head-to-head, again, it's a lot different than a roto league, but where you need those standings points to compete in the overall, in the overall standings. But I would not, even in a head-to-head, drop Hader yet. No. Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks for San Francisco. They're going to be at Miami, then home against Arizona. Hicks has been unreal. He's not going to be a 5 for me yet. And, there could be some regression coming, but I'm going to give him a 3. With these matchups, I'm actually going to go 4 on Hicks. And then Kyle Harrison, maybe a 1. But I need to see more. What say you on Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison?
I'm liking what I see from Harrison to give him a 2.
Okay.
I don't know that he's kind of warrants. Up in inconsistency, but I like the matchups enough in the parks enough. Arizona could be tough, but it's in San Francisco, so I'll go 2 on Hicks and 3 on Hicks and 2 on Harrison. You were talking about relievers converting with Puck and Ronaldo Lopez. Man, Hicks Hicks is
This is
silly.
making it look easy. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, Sonny Gray returned with 5 scoreless, and so he's at Oakland versus Milwaukee. Nice little 2-step here to get ease back into the swing of things here for Sonny Gray, and with at Oakland on there, I don't see any way you sit him, so I'm going to go 5 on Sonny.
Going 5, yeah, I like obviously you like it. It's at home against Milwaukee because the Brewers are still a little dangerous in that park.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Here's
true.
an interesting one.
Yeah, a couple interesting ones here for the Rays. Zach Eflin and Aaron Savali, they're going to be home against the Angels, but then they got to go to the Bronx, face the Yankees. Despite some struggles for Eflin so far, I think I'm going to go 4 on both Eflin and Savali. I think you use them both, even with at New York Yankees on the schedule.
I do too. Eflin's been inconsistent. I mean, he's looked really good and really bad. But I still think he's all right. I like Eflin a lot. Savali made me sad the other night because I think I was doing props and I was on a run, and I had Savali to go over, and he didn't. He was taken out an inning early, but I'm sticking with him.
Classic Rays. Michael Lorenzen, we mentioned that. Oh wait, yeah, I think it might be Cody Bradford getting 2. We'll have to wait and see there, but Bradford is sticking
or just 1 because they may go 6-man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, John Gray should get 2 either way. So at Detroit, at Atlanta for John Gray. His price dropped in the spring to the point where I considered him, didn't end up with him. For some reason, I'm only going 1, I think, on John Gray.
Gray rebounded last time. He started out really slow. He did rebound in his last outing. Maybe it was against Oakland, but even so, I'm sticking 3. I'm still higher on Gray. I know no one likes at Atlanta, but I'm going with 3.
All right. Let me just all right, let me get that down for you. So you're going 3 on Gray, okay?
It's got to do with not moving horribly far off of initial expectations.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
We're at the point where I have to think about it. I think that's what my next Z file is going to be because I'm adjusting my rest of season projections, and those feed into the pitching numbers. So I'm at the point where I have reevaluated my initial projection for a couple of guys. I'll probably write about it over the weekend.
All right, yeah. Sorry,
I don't know who those guys are. I just remember I did. There's a spoiler alert. Or whatever you call it, tease.
Well, Chris Bassett's got the Yankees, then he's got to go to San Diego. But aside from some long ball issues in his first start, I think he's looked pretty darn good.
He's fine.
Yeah, so
he's Chris Bassett. That's going to happen. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. But last time out, he struck out 8 and allowed just 1 run.
Yeah,
it did hand out 4 free passes, but
it was a tough matchup, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Who was it?
It was. Seattle's kind of struggling.
Okay.
It was home against Seattle. Had some issues home against Houston, or at Houston rather, and at Tampa Bay. But I still think Bassett's probably a 4.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we can end now. We don't have to do the next one.
Yeah, we'll just mark down Patrick Corbin as a 0. I always love when we get to end on an easy one.
At LA and versus Houston.
Oof.
But yet the guys, God bless him, he's earning a paycheck. I'm not a DFS GPP player, but I was like, I'm talking to a friend who is. I'm thinking, you know what? This is why I don't like GPP play. You should start Patrick Corbin, and every time he's on the mound in a GPP, because 5 times a year you're going to crush it. The other 27 you're going to get killed, but you may make enough in those 5 wins to make it. That's why I don't play GPP. Anyway.
Yeah, me neither. I think maybe I'll have to dabble my toes back into DFS, but I'll play the
cash games.
Yeah.
And I'll put my cash lineup in a single entry GPP because what if. But I'm just not wired to take a chance on a stinky player in case he plays well. And that's not all. That's not all it takes. That's myopic. But even so, I'm just not wired for GPP thinking.
Well, let's recap our grades for the 2-star pitchers for next week, the week of April 15th, 2024. Merrill Kelly, we both say 5, we both say 4, but Todd says 5 in points. Ronaldo Lopez, 3. Cole Irvin, I say 1, Todd 0. Cutter Crawford, I say 4, Todd 3. Garrett Whitlock, 4. Kyle Hendricks, 0. Tanner Bibee, 4. Cal Quantrill, 0. Eric Fetty, I say 0, Todd 1. Reese Olson, 1. Casey Mize, 0. Spencer Arrighetti, 0. Seth Lugo, 4. Patrick Sandoval, 0. Jose Soriano, 0. AJ Puck, 0. Edward Cabrera, 1. Joe Ross, I say 0, Todd 1. Louis Varland, 2. Adrian Hauser, 0. Ross Stripling, I say 0, Todd 1. Aaron Nola, 5. Martin Perez, I say 0, Todd 1. Joe Musgrove, 3. George Kirby, 4. Jordan Hicks, I say 4, Todd 3. Kyle Harrison, I say 1, Todd 2. Sonny Gray, 5. Zach Eflin, 4. Aaron Savali, 4. John Gray, I say 1, Todd 3. Chris Bassett, 4. And finally, Patrick Corbin, 0. I think we gave Kyle Freeland -1 last week, so I'm going to change it, give Corbin -1, just to keep that trend going. All right, Todd, great stuff. We appreciate everybody in the chat, and thanks for hanging out with us on this Friday afternoon. Anything else on your mind that you want to mention?
Whoever's in charge of the weather, come on, get it together. 2 more. We got 2 doubleheaders tomorrow with rain. One game's already bumped today. Boston's kind of, I think they'll play, but it's a little bit ugly. That's all. It's all good. And I don't know about you. You're kind of in a cold weather climb. Do people drive worse in the rain than the snow, in your opinion? Because I think they do.
Oh man, that's tough to say in Wisconsin.
I've seen
some craziness.
You don't get enough. All you get is snow. And I saw 2 accidents this morning when I was out, that I think people just forget that you can hydroplane in the rain, and they're a little more careful in the snow. But anyway, no one wants to hear about that.
It's kind of scary in the rain, but here in Wisconsin, man, you'll see some craziness in the snow. That's for sure. Let's hope the snow is done. And turn off the weather, turn off injuries, Lord, please. Us fantasy players would like sunny days and fewer injuries.
Sunny days and sunny grace. All right. Have a great weekend.
I'm going to be thinking about that Lady Luck meeting the regression monster line for a few days. But thank you, Todd, for the insight. And we'll catch all of you next week on the Friday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast.